Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into a really incredible story today about an everyday hero who had to face some seriously tough choices. This is the interactive hero's journey, the case of the honest slave. Let's dive right in and meet our hero, Joseph.
So let me ask you guys something. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't even do? Like maybe your little brother or sister broke a toy and completely pointed the finger at you, or maybe you got in trouble at school for talking when it was actually the person sitting right next to you. It feels terrible, right? It's just so frustrating and totally unfair. Well, I want you to keep that feeling in mind because our hero, Joseph, is about to experience that exact same thing, but on a massive scale.
Now, before we get too deep into Joseph's adventure, we got to talk about our word of the week. And this word, it is literally Joseph's superpower. The word is honor. Honor means to show great respect for someone, to treat them as special and important. Throughout this whole explainer, we're going to see exactly how Joseph uses the superpower of honor even when things get really, really scary.
Okay, Section 1. A strange new home. Joseph in Egypt. So, Joseph's story kicks off with a pretty terrifying journey. He was actually taken super far away from his family as a slave, and he experienced total culture shock. On one side, we have his childhood, a quiet tent home in the wide open spaces of Canaan, simple, peaceful country life. But on the other side, we have his new home, Egypt. Imagine the loud, busy streets filled with giant pyramids zigzagging across the horizon, army officers and fancy chariots zooming by, and these magnificent grand temples. I want you to just imagine how lonely and totally out of place Joseph must have felt. Everything looked different, everyone spoke a totally different language, and the people there worshipped false idols instead of God.
But here's the amazing part. Even though he was incredibly lonely, Joseph actually had peace in his heart. Our memory verse today is from Revelation chapter 4, verse 11. It says, "You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power." Instead of being super angry and blaming God for all the terrible things that happened to him, Joseph chose to honor God. He just kept worshiping God in his heart, and he stayed peaceful.
Section 2. Reaching the top job in Potiphar's house.
So Joseph gets sold to this really wealthy Egyptian captain named Potiphar to work in his beautiful, huge mansion. On day one, Joseph is literally the least important slave in the whole house. For the first month, he's getting the absolute hardest, messiest jobs. We're talking scrubbing dirty pots, sweeping dusty floors, the whole shebang. But Joseph did something amazing. He worked really hard, and he was cheerful about it. Because he honored God, he honored his master by being trustworthy. Potiphar watched him closely and noticed that God was blessing everything Joseph did. So over the course of a year, Joseph gets promoted all the way to the top job. Potiphar literally put Joseph in charge of everything he owned.
Now you might be wondering, how in the world did a foreign slave who barely even knew the language become the boss of the entire house? Well, it wasn't just because Joseph gritted his teeth and tried really, really hard all by himself. As Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." God gave Joseph the strength to do his absolute best work.
Which brings us to Section 3. The dripping tap. Facing temptation. Okay, question for you. How would you respond if someone really pressured you to do something wrong? Like maybe a friend or a sibling nags you to break the rules. Maybe they try to pressure you into taking something that isn't yours or sneaking off to play when you're supposed to be doing your chores. It's really hard to say no, right? Well, when Potiphar was away, his wife started doing exactly that to Joseph. She was demanding that he do things that would dishonor God and dishonor Potiphar.
Here's how it went down. Step 1. Potiphar's wife straight up asks Joseph to dishonor God. Step 2. She keeps asking every single day. Guys, she was just like a dripping tap, drip, 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 nagging and begging and demanding. But step 3, Joseph refuses. Day after day, he says no, simply because he loves God way too much to hurt him by doing something wrong.
Man, it is so exhausting when someone just will not leave you alone, right? But we've got this absolutely amazing promise in 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "But God will also give you a way to escape that temptation." This means God will always, always help us find a way out when we're being pressured to do the wrong thing. He gives us the strength to say no.
Okay, I want everyone watching to do something with me right now. Seriously, hold your hand out like you're grabbing a faucet knob. When you feel tempted to do something wrong, or someone is nagging you to break the rules, you need to turn that temptation tap off. Ready? Grab the knob and twist it tight. Squeak! We are turning off the temptation tap by asking God for help and boldly saying, no.
Moving on to Section 4. A trap and a lie, unjustly accused.
Well, Potiphar's wife was completely fed up with Joseph saying no. So one day, when nobody else was around, she decided to set a trap. Step 1, she grabs Joseph's coat as he walks by, trying to force him to do what she wanted. Joseph knew his whole future was on the line right in this split second. So step 2, he calmly turns his eyes to heaven for help, leaves his coat right there in her hands, and runs outside to escape. He got away. But then comes step 3. Potiphar's wife is furious. How dare a slave reject her? So she tells a giant lie to the men of the house, claiming Joseph attacked her. She wanted revenge just because she didn't get her way.
Now, think back to that question from the very beginning. Have you ever felt it was just so incredibly unfair when you did the exact right thing, but you still got in trouble? That is exactly where Joseph is right now. He honored God, he honored his boss, he ran away from doing something wrong, and because of a mean lie, his whole world was being turned totally upside down.
Section 5. Jail and vengeful scorpions. Trusting God.
When Potiphar got home and heard this wild story from his wife, he was furious. Even though he probably doubted it deep down, he couldn't just let Joseph go free. So he threw Joseph into a dark, gloomy prison cell. Now, sitting in that dusty Egyptian prison, Joseph might have encountered some creepy critters. Let's play a quick game. Who am I? First clue, I am nocturnal, meaning I hide in the day and hunt at night. Second clue, I can survive up to 12 months without food. Third clue, I have 8 legs, 1 tail, and 2 lobster-like claws. Fourth clue, I shed my exoskeleton 7 times as I grow. Any guesses?
If you guessed a scorpion, you absolutely nailed it. Yep, a scorpion. Did you know there are over 1,700 different species of scorpions in the world? They catch bugs and small lizards with their claws and use that venomous tail stinger to survive.
But here is a seriously wild fact about scorpions that connects right back to our story. Scorpions can actually be extremely vengeful. In fact, a scientist once did an experiment where he put a mother scorpion in a jar and she started eating her own babies, but one baby scorpion managed to escape, climbed up onto the mother's back, and vengefully stung her in return to get revenge. Crazy, right? This whole thing perfectly shows the choice we all have to make. On one hand, you've got the vengeful scorpion, seeking revenge and attacking others. Potiphar's wife acted exactly like a vengeful scorpion when she told that horrible lie. But on the other hand, we have the honorable Joseph. Even sitting in a gloomy, super unfair jail cell, Joseph didn't get vengeful. He chose to trust God and stay peaceful. Let's bring back our memory verse one last time. You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. Even in prison, Joseph never stopped praising God. He knew that God was right there with him in that dark cell. He chose to honor God no matter what unfair things happened to him. And spoiler alert, God actually had a massive, world-saving plan for Joseph's future, but that is a story for another day. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final, super important question to think about. How will you choose to show honor in your own life this week? Will you be an everyday hero like Joseph? Will you be kind, tell the truth, and say no to temptation, even when it's really hard? I know you can, because just like Joseph, God will give you the strength. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I totally challenge you to go out there and use your superpower of honor this week. Catch you next time.